Welcome to the Screen Podcast, and thanks for joining us for insight and analysis of the global film industry and TV industry too this week. My name is Wendy Mitchell. I'm a contributing editor at Screen, and I'm delighted to be your host. And two very special guests today. We have Rebecca Leffler, the France correspondent for Screen International.
Bonjour.
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 And Rebecca, I've never sat so close to somebody
Yes.
whilst recording.
We're
so
getting
this is
cozy
great.
in Lille.
Yes, so Rebecca and I are in Lille. That's in France. We are here for Series Mania. So that is going to be the focus of the episode this week. And we're thrilled to be joined by Screen's Europe editor, Tim Dams. Hi, Tim.
Hi both. Hello.
A Series Mania regular and survivor.
And alas, not there this year. I'm missing it. And
missing
you.
It. Yeah. They're here in spirit with us in Lille.
Yeah, so we're in a very grand hall, if anybody's wondering. This is not our hotel room. A very grand hall where what happens in this?
So this is there. So basically, Series Mania, there's the festival. It's like Cannes, there's the festival side, and we're on the festival side, and then everything happens. The industry events are all at the Forum, which is a little whiles away, and it's in the Grand Palais, another palais, and that is, I think they announced 5,000 people this year, and I just came back from it, and it felt like there were 5,000 people there at one
least.
time.
Okay.
Tim knows the buzz. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, but it's lovely. It's a good. I love Series Mania because it's a kind of compact. Even though there's a lot of people there, it feels compact. Yeah. It's not as kind of spread out for some reason as Cannes. It's very good for meeting people very easily. I think it's kind of managed to hold on to that kind of secret sauce of size, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I've been here a grand total while we're recording. I've probably been here for about 2 hours now, but it's a beautiful city. It's very walkable, which I love. It's not a lot of like ladies with small dogs in their handbags shopping at a Chanel store. So
very
it's not
different
like
from Cannes. The weather, unfortunately, is also quite different from Cannes in March. But no, it's very quaint. It's near Belgium, so you have all the, it's a very, very, very beautiful. If you can leave the walls of the Forum.
So, Rebecca, I want to ask you, because I don't go to all the TV markets. I have been to Content London a few times. I've been to a MIP or two in my day. But where do you see Series Mania stacking up with those? Seems like it's becoming, keeping its intimate size, but becoming more and more important.
I think it's not as intimate size. I mean, they're expecting, it was 20% more accreditations this year, 5,000 people I mentioned. And Laurence Herzberg, who's the founder and the director of the festival, I spoke to her ahead of it, and she said, Rebecca, everyone on the planet is at Series Mania. And she's not exaggerating in terms of the industry. In terms of the US and Hollywood, not many come from the US, but they all now have, all the big streamers, all the big companies, studios, they have offices in London and offices in, Germany and France and Italy. So they're coming. Everyone is here. I think, MIP TV, may it rest in peace, was in April. So there were people that were going, but the fact that it doesn't exist is because people were coming and they were like, we're not going to go to Lille in March and then right again in April. And so because of that, it's become really, really big. And I think the point is that, and we'll talk about it, the geopolitical angst, the economic problems facing the industry, I think everyone is looking for solutions. So what better place than to get everybody together? And especially, again, we'll talk about it, but Europe, it's a place to find co-productions, financing. The difference is, Laurence also said, what I thought was interesting is that it's not a market. Whereas you have a MIPCOM, which is still big in October, but it's really a market versus this, which is not a traditional market, but they really
conference and a showcase.
Yeah, and they really try to be there from the beginning stages. They have, everything from talent labs and writing labs, starting them young, and incubators, and then doing things like they have this new buyers upfront, co-production pitching sessions, which they're known for. So it's getting the projects together. And then they have the festival as a showcase for, hey, we finished this, now we can sell it.
It feels much more like a kind of like a film festival, doesn't it? It's got, as you said, the festival side, but it's got the market side. And yeah, rather than say MIPCOM, which is, was kind of created really as a sales, a distribution kind of market, there's something about Series Mania. It feels much more co-production focused, you'll meet more creatives perhaps at Series Mania, I think.
Yeah, and
yeah.
It's interesting what you said, Tim, about how it's like a film festival, because in the, especially the French industry, it was, it's very TV, it's called Series Mania, but everyone I've seen already that is here now, it's big film producers. And when you look at the competition, I mean, the talent that's here, it's Melville Poupeau and Anna Girardot, and it could read, like Gail Morel is directing a series for France Television. These could be filmed. It's all the talent from the film industry, and all of the problems are the same.
I suppose it's kind of bloomed, hasn't it? At the same time as high-end TV has bloomed, so has Series Mania. It's almost the perfect reflection of it, really.
Yeah, because I know when I go to Content London, sometimes that does feel quite industrial, and it might have outgrown that King's Place context, and you're in the middle of London when people are trying to Christmas shop, and it's quite hectic. Yes, they get a lot of amazing people going to speak or going for meetings, but yeah, this feels like I just rolled off the Eurostar, and here I am in a beautiful place with a lot of the good and the great of the TV world here.
I think that's what it is. It's people coming together. And so right now, and that's the theme everywhere, it's how can we do this together? And co-productions are big. Tim, maybe you want to talk about, they're going to sign a big European co-production deal here with all the ministers. And one thing I've noticed in France, but also I think it speaks to Europe in general, whereas when the streamers first came, even the earlier years of post-COVID of Series Mania, it was like, oh, all the streamers are here, and they would do, I hosted one of the Netflix big showcases, and then you'd have the traditional players like Arte and France Television there, kind of like, hey, we have our lineup, and then you have Netflix doing a major thing, and Prime Video and everything. Mediawan is here, Federation, but I think that now they're not. It's kind of, if you can't beat them, join them. So they're coming together, and so there's less public funding. France Television just had, $50-something million of euros of their budget cut from the government. I know a lot is EDF. I mean, a lot of the major public broadcasters. So they're bringing in France Television, HBO have a bunch of series that they're doing together. Raleigh 82 with HBO. They have one big series coming up for Disney with Wild Bunch called it's about Alice Guy, who's the first female filmmaker, but starring Berenice Bejo. So again, it's like everything, it could be for a movie, but it's anyway, they're coming together instead of doing things in competition.
Yeah, and what about this Netflix TF1 deal? Is that
there's
yet?
Netflix TF1, Prime Video, and France Television. They're all coming together, and so they're all, I think, as I don't know the official dates, but during this year and into next, we're going to see the results of that. And you have also one of the big issues here is Canal Plus, and they're cutting their budgets. And Disney, actually, this is also carrying over to cinema. So we won't get into it, but the windowing system, and Disney just they're investing more money in French cinema. So because of that, in the audiovisual, it's the SMAD in French, the fact that they have to invest a certain amount of their revenue. So they have to invest. They agreed to invest 25%, but they're going to invest it in cinema, and probably less. That means less series. So it will be interesting to see how things are shaking up. Canal Plus is cutting their budgets. I mean, everywhere. So,
Tim, can you tell us a little bit more about how you're seeing co-production? Because as we mentioned, there's going to be this big co-production. It's not a new treaty, but just a new...
It is. It's a big treaty. They're just signing it officially here.
Okay.
It's called it's a bit of a mouthful, actually, the Council of Europe's Convention on the Co-Production of Audiovisual Works for Series. And
quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
Quite a mouthful. But, you talk to people, actually, it's very, very significant, actually, for the TV market. People are really talking this up, and it's, billed as very, very important, which is why you've got so many kind of important people coming to sign it here, and it's a big deal. And basically what they're trying to do, it's tough to make series at the moment. It costs a lot, and so this kind of convention really is designed to kind of make it easier to co-produce across the patchwork of territories. It'll give producers kind of slightly more rights to hold on to. You'll also be able to get audience data, which, can be hard from some of the streamers, for example. It basically just sets out the rules for co-producing in kind of Europe. And this is at a time when co-producing has just risen up the agenda, really. It's become so important. As I said, budgets, kind of the budgets are so high now, and broadcasters by themselves can't afford to fund these series. Distributors are chipping in their bit, but it's not enough. The tax credits are there, but they're not enough. The kind of broadcaster stuff is enough. So you've got to kind of partner up to reach these kind of large budgets. And this convention is a way to kind of hopefully help that kind of happen more, basically.
Great to hear, and I hope we're going to start seeing more fruits of that, because there are some challenges ahead in the TV market, especially in Europe and in the UK, of consolidation, of more competition, of budgets rising or inflation, and a single broadcaster not being able to greenlight something as much anymore. Where do we see this going? I guess that bubble was always going to burst a little bit after COVID,
and
right?
the consolidation thing, it's interesting because there are two sides of it. I mean, there's the positives and the negatives. Obviously, when you have companies like, I feel, Federation every other day, there's a new company, Mediawan, and you have all these European powerhouses. The ecosystem needs them, and it's great because it's providing an alternative. They're making, prestige TV with bigger budgets that can travel. They're making, I think a trend also is more and more English language. Like, they're realizing that they can't sell things that aren't in English language. Last year at Series Mania, there was a big European co-production, the Kabul, that was France Télévisions, ZDF. It was basically the Alliance, the European Alliance, and it was in English. And some of it was a little strange because the French people were speaking English and to each other, and the Italians, but it's something that then can travel. So the consolidation, it makes it what I worry about, I think, and a lot of the industry is worried about, is where does independent production fit in? And, this is exactly the same topic that's going to be at the Cannes Film Festival that we're talking about in the film industry. It's, if you're not a studio, if you're not part of Mediawan or Federation, can you just where does it come in? I mean, and finding, gap financing and putting, I just was speaking to, there's a show that just aired on MGM Plus in the US, and then it's AGC that produced it, shot in France, in Marseille, called Vanish, with Kelly Coco and Sam Claflin. And they were saying it's to be able to, if you're a big studio or you're even a media one, you can have cash flow coming to just begin to shoot and to start something. Whereas if you're just a regular, an independent production, just to start and before everything comes together, it's really tough. So that's where, again, co-productions, pre-sales, there's, a lot of pre-sales to different territories is important. But where does the independent production fit into this model? But,
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, basically the industry is globalized, isn't it? All driven by the streamers, and everyone's after scale of show, really. And the scale of show means the scale of companies has had to grow as well. And so, you've just got the emergence of these kind of big companies, and the Banijay All3Media deal has just kind of, been announced recently. We've got the Warner Brothers, Paramount deal going on in the background as well. It's all about the race for scale. And as you say, Rebecca, yes, where does that leave the independent producer?
But it's the same with auteur. It's the struggle of auteur cinema from the beginning. It's how do you marry kind of commercial fare and
which is where this convention is quite interesting, actually, because it's seeking to put in place protections for independent producers. So it's to be encouraged, really.
And what do we see? What do you all see that is actually working well in terms of themes, in terms of genres that are working well? What are we starting to see people buzzing about here already early at Series Mania? I mean, what do you think?
I'm seeing a little bit of, again, both ends of the spectrum. Either and Tim, I think it was maybe not even last year, but 2 years ago, that the theme was IP, IP, IP. I think we even titled one of our, headings for the article, IP, 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 and more IP, because it's safe, because, France Télévisions, there's
Also
a
adapting books,
Stendhal,
like,
yeah?
adapting books and well.
Adapting books. They adapted, a Stendhal book, or you have something like based on Lucky Luke is here, France Télévisions on Disney. It's based on the popular Belgian comic book for kids. It's strong and it's safe. Whereas, I mean, even if they'll say, obviously, very big, ambitious co-productions with, great production value. That's true, and big talent and all that, but it's still, they're safe. And I think what we're seeing, and, Laurence had mentioned this in terms of the selecting the projects. There's a German show called The Flaws that's like completely impossible to describe on paper, that's very burlesque. You have, basically really, really original content. And I mentioned this Alex Berger, who produced a little show called The Bureau des Legends. That's a whole other story. It's basically changed prestige TV and European TV as we knew it. And he was saying that he has another show here and for Arte called El Dorado, and he was saying that we're in basically a new era of creativity, that audiences now, they don't want to watch the same things, that they can't watch also so many things. There was the peak TV, and now there has to be less for many reasons, budget reasons, but also audience attention span as well, and finding them and marketing. But he said that they have to be more ambitious and unique, because that's what people want to watch. Things that when the Bureau came around, there wasn't anything like that when that existed. Now, because the Bureau worked, there are 27. There's even a remake of the Bureau. There's even there's something works. And so I think what we're seeing is, even personally, the shows that I like to watch, it's kind of like films. If you were to write, Anatomy of a Fall, the pitch on paper, ahead of Cannes, you would have not even blinked twice. And now those are the films that are standing out. People want to see different. So yeah.
Yeah. Would I have signed up to back Sirat? Maybe
No.
not, but that was my film of the year.
Right,
because it was so different.
Because
and so
it's so different. Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with series. I mean, there's partly, obviously things that work are obviously series that have been around for, 27 seasons, and things that can appeal. But HPI, which actually takes place set in Lille, and they just did their finale here last year. HIP is the international title with Audrey Fleurot. So the ABC in the US it's a rare show that actually was purchased for a remake, was made into a show, and it's a huge hit on ABC there. But when you know the original, it's not the same. But anyway, but their remake rights is something that can also work, because we're in this era. There was this era, especially after COVID, where language was no longer a barrier, and I think that is true to some extent. But I do think that we're kind of going back to, it has to be in English, and I think audiences their attention spans are less.
I find that's very interesting. You look at going back to the consolidation thing, actually, kind of Banijay's kind of deal with all three media. All three media really is essentially a kind of very, very British focused company. Many of their labels are kind of British, and it's a brilliant play by a French company, Banijay, into who already have a good footprint in the UK, but really consolidates their hold on the English language production landscape, basically.
If you look at things even like Call My Agent, that are the things I think are so French, like Call My Agent, or very niche too. It's like very much about the film industry. My favorite, Murder In and Art of Crime. These are very French shows that air on French televisions. Even French people I know don't watch them. It's like grandmothers, and but they're so French that they travel because they're so French. So I think that that's what we'll see. These a little Italian show about a little Italian family that's working.
Can pop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's an obvious thing to say, but nobody really knows, do they? The famous thing. Like I was speaking today, when the BAFTA kind of nominations came out, and Adolescence got 11 nominations, but so many people passed on that before it was eventually kind of, made by Netflix and everything like that. And, really, it's kind of people. It's a kind of. I think people just want an authentic, ambitious, well directed, well cast. They want a lot of boxes ticked basically in TV drama, so things can travel. And doing that at the right budget is a challenge for everyone, actually.
But Adolescence is a perfect example. It worked because I've never seen it. It was so different from anything that we've seen. I think, in terms of the themes, in terms of the way it was shot, in terms of, and also it was also 4 episodes?
Yeah.
It was short.
Single
So
take. Yeah.
yeah.
And also, we should not forget that is our friends at Warp Films in the UK, but also Plan B, which is owned by Mediawan. So, yeah, and then
Another
Netflix.
one. Yeah.
Yes. What about politics? And no, we're not getting into real politics, but what about politics on the small screen? Are people leaning into it? Are they holding back from it? Are they scared of it? I mean, maybe in the US, some networks are a little bit scared of politics right now, but internationally, it doesn't feel like people are.
Well, we'll see. In terms of, if you just look at even the competition at the festival, it's a lot of very politically charged series, but not necessarily about politics today, but they're about, fascism, and, or they go back to, World War II, or they go back, and they're looking at it through the lens of historical drama. But it's obviously, sadly, themes that are repeating themselves today. As we enter possibly World War III, we are seeing things about World War II. And, there's a Haggai Levy, his show that was also at Venice,
Oh, yeah.
Eddie, and he
yeah.
kind of modernized, it's set in Amsterdam, and it's about a young girl who ends up, she was killed in the Holocaust, but it's really more about, how the rise of Nazism there, and filmed in a modern way. Breen Doc is a Belgian series. There's The Best Immigrant. There are very political, but again, it's either they're very political, or it's that people can't deal with the current realities of the world, so they want a real escape, and they want something that's completely different and doesn't make them think about what's happening in the world.
Yeah, I had an example of one of those, which I'm here moderating a Dutch showcase, and one of the projects is La Vida Barcelona, which I think is about a mother and a daughter. There's some fashion design involved. They're obviously Dutch going over to Spain. It just sounds escapist and great, and dare I say it, even a touch of Emily in Paris about it, Rebecca. And this is from a company called Mill Street, which just had a huge hit with Maxima, which is about the queen that married into the Dutch royal family. That show has sold in at least 110 countries and maybe more. And I talked to the producer, who said, yes, because it's not, I mean, that's about a royal family, but it's not political. It's just escapist.
Well, that's why Emily in Paris, it's not a coincidence that it aired during COVID, when everyone wanted to escape and be maybe in Paris, and you don't get more escapist than that. It is so far from reality, anyway, increasingly so. And so I think that people, that's what they want. Even, France Télévisions, we're doing the showcase, they have rom-coms coming. Like, you could not. I've been asking for 20 years for more rom-coms from French networks. Oh no, but nobody watches rom-coms. And actually, they're now doing that because people just want, they're doing well. They want escape. They want lighter things.
I mean, one of the big things coming up in the UK in the next few weeks is series 2 of Rivals, which did such kind of big business,
Yeah.
He did
not He Did Rivals, just Rivals.
And, fun, escapist, and,
Bulkbuster, I believe.
That Bulkbuster.
Yeah.
It's like, risque in elements, but great sense of humor, tongue in cheek. And I just think that's, people want their thrillers, they want their true crimes, but at a time of challenged politics, and they just sometimes want to sit back on the TV and kind of go, show me a good time.
Yeah. Or older times. There's a lot of period. I mean, the love story about, JFK and Drew. Yeah. And that's, people kind of want to go back to that time. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. The show, the Hugo Book show, is 1970s. It was a time when, we thought those
things were simpler.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's running through all of this, because basically we've been talking around it, and actually people enjoy everything, don't they? They enjoy, we've described a huge variety of series, but what they really do want is really high production values. They want some people they recognize in it. They want stars. Like you said, they want the IP. I think some of those things are the common things. You can't scrimp on this stuff anymore. The bar is set so high.
But the way that Europe now, I mean, you can film things in Europe prestige drama, high production value. You get the tax credits. You have co-production rules. And so now, I mean, it was already this, in Italy and France, and now the big news in Italy and Spain, the big news in France now is that the international tax rebate, the TRIP tax rebate for international production, they now, which can go up to 40% if you do visual effects, now the above the line costs for non-EU actors, basically big US stars now can be considered, that can be part of the incentive. And so that's going to bring, the idea is to bring big stars, big budget projects, film, TV, to be able to shoot in France. And so it's kind of, Europe is here. That's what the themes are, especially Thursday with the Lille dialogues. And it's saying, hey, come Hollywood, things are tough, so come to Europe. I mean, we have co-production agreements. We have, great, high production value,
great locations.
We
sound like we're working for AFKI or something on the Lille tourist board.
You do.
Yeah.
No, it is, but it is interesting. I don't obviously work for them, but I've been interviewing. I always interview, US producers, UK producers about what's it really like filming in France. Give me the scoop. There must be some negatives, like give me the positives, the negatives, and they all recently increasingly have said, no, it's really been, a joy. The crews that are really passionate about making things, and we're seeing that here too. That's something that I think that's why auteur cinema, that's why France, but also all of Europe, they come here. They come because there's freedom of expression, creativity,
and
for now.
And they all break for lunch as well.
They take people keep asking, do they really still drink wine at lunch? Do they take 2-hour lunches? In Cannes, I think they still do, but not on a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, the rosé ready for that.
Yeah. In Lille, it's beer. And
okay.
Beer and, waffles and fries, kind of Flanders, close to Belgium.
You have to be very careful in Lille, though. When you go out for a beer with somebody, the beer is so strong that you can only have, just go easy on the beer.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Says an Englishman. Wow.
Yeah.
And yes, especially Rebecca, with you, that you're looking across this program, or any other sort of trends you're noticing, or anything coming up that's going to be discussed here that you think is really interesting. I'm putting you on the spot.
I mean, well, no, the big themes, we talk consolidation, Europe and I think what the other elephant in the room, I think also, is that it all is about money. I mean, it's looking for, in order to make these shows, you need quality talent, and that I think is easy. It's all over to find, but you have to pay them, or you have to find them. And I think it's funding, it's financing, it's getting things off the ground and making them and then selling them. Because I noticed this too, they make these big, great shows, and then you see them at Series Mania or at another kind of series, and then you just don't hear about them. And some of them are great, and they won't air in the US, they won't air in the UK. The US market, I mean, look at Eddie. I mean, Hagai Levy, who has a deal with HBO, he's made all these award-winning shows, and yet a series that's not in English is even a successful, it's been at festivals, it's a tough, they're tough sells. And so there are remake rights now, but it's a tough market already. Also, a lot of them are doing their own content. I mean, Netflix, they do a lot of their own original programming, and so it's really hard to sell to the main other countries and main networks. So
I think the other thing that's really interesting about Series Mania actually is it brings together in one place all the policy people in TV as well. So you get a lot of politics discussed, and I think there's a session on the new Agora EU plan, which
that's the replacement for Creative Europe
Media. Yeah. So that will be thrashed through. You've got the convention kind of being signed. So it's very kind of, if you want to meet those kind of people and learn about politics of TV on a European level, it's a really great place to come, actually. I'd really recommend it. You learn an awful lot very, very quickly.
Yeah, because we know there's going to be a lot of lobbying that is going on, and good reason for that replacement.
And they'll address all of the themes that are, that are also Europe-wide. AI is a big theme. They're doing a lot of panels on. And then they're also, Series Mania, I give them credit, they're leaning into, micro dramas are becoming big. And so they are leaning in and doing things about micro dramas, but they haven't gone, and
Look at this sign of I'm not buying it yet on the
Yeah.
microdramas.
And you know, they're YouTube, they're
Yeah.
here,
Oh yeah. Well,
they're doing
YouTube
something.
is
But what's funny is YouTube being here and
so
even talking about microdramas, this was, I mean, if even a few years ago when Netflix came and was doing things, it was like, ooh, the big bad streamers are here. And now they're all doing things together, and it's you know, so
They navigate their way through, basically. That's what everyone's trying to do.
yeah.
Tim, are you hooked on any Chinese microdramas or anything yet?
I think I've watched one microdrama and I turned it off pretty quick.
But you never know.
I'm not, you know, yeah.
I
You
think
never
I'm
know.
still sort of have a hangover from Quibi. Remember
Yeah.
that experiment? That just failed miserably. So it's just that was
Yeah.
kind of what it was. But yeah, I mean, you can't deny YouTube. So I'm not saying
No.
short form content doesn't have a place.
I still haven't even graduated to, you know, reality TV and all the non-scripted, all the, yeah, no, I still
Love
like,
is
I
Blind.
like a prestige
Okay,
European drama.
she's prestigious. I do watch Love is Blind, I'm afraid. Let's wrap up with maybe just a thought or two about a series that you're looking forward to or want to recommend. And I'm going to start because mine's fresh in my head. One of mine is called Harvest, and it's from DR Drama, the great Danish public
Yeah.
broadcaster. I trust DR with everything, pretty much. This is called Succession with Tractors, set on a Danish farm. Hopefully there'll be farm animals. But it's
Oh,
from the writer-director Martin Zandvliet, who was Oscar nominated for Land of Mine, which it was an
okay.
impeccably made film. And the cast includes Elliot Krosset from Godland and farm animals. So it starts airing in Denmark this autumn. It's part of the New Eight, which I know they're having a session here, which is this consortium of 8 broadcasters across Europe. So that means it's traveling to at least 7 other countries. So we'll see. And that was teased at TV Drama Vision in Göteborg in January, which I just have to mention, if you are interested in Nordic drama, that is the place to be. And something totally different. I, this past weekend, watched the new SNL UK.
Oh, how is it?
I thought it was going to be the biggest hot mess we would have ever
Yeah.
seen.
But Tina Fey is great.
Tina Fey hosted it. It was really promising. And I
Okay.
say that, I mean, and I'm not alone, because my husband is also he's very careful with which comedy he allows to pass his eyes, and he's quite a comedy snob, I think, or just has really impeccable taste in comedy. And he said that was actually pretty funny, some of it,
Oh,
and there's a couple
wow.
of good talents to keep an eye out. So that's on Sky. I think it's ordered for 8 or for 6 episodes so far, so we'll see. But got good reviews on both sides of the pond, and I
Oh,
don't know
wow.
what that means, and I'm surprised.
Wow. Oh, that's, yeah. Because
You'll have to
humor
check it
doesn't
out.
always
No.
work on both sides of the pond. Yeah. No offense to British humor, but or French humor if they call it that, but who knows? No, actually, one show that I that's here, that's in the French competition, it's called Privileges. It'll be on HBO Max, whatever they're calling themselves these days. The artist formerly known as WBD HBO. Anyway, and it's called Privilege. It stars, again, it's like a film. It's Melville Poupeau, our favorite auteur, who usually we see him at the Cannes Film Festival, and Manon Bresch, who's a young talent. And it's this girl gets out of prison. She works at a bellhop at a really fancy hotel, and it's set in talking about escapism. It's set in the world of luxury hotels, so it kind of shows what's happening behind the scenes, and it's kind of like a mix of all of our favorite HBO shows. It's like the dynamic power struggles a la Succession, no farm animals, but Succession or Game of Thrones. Then you have a lot of Sex in the City, and then which always sells, and then you know, a little Sopranos, because there's a lot of, you know, corruption and things happening, and it's really just I watched one episode just to see what it was about, and I ended up binging the whole thing, and I think it's great. I know, and you know what? There's so much TV, and I watch a lot of it professionally and personally, and there's so much bad TV out there that it's refreshing when you can't wait to watch the next episode. So yeah, that was great. And then one that I haven't seen yet, but I'm still looking, again, the Alice Guy, who is the first female filmmaker that kind of was erased from history, and now she's back, and so Berenice Bejo will be playing her, so
great.
Can't wait for that.
And Tim, do you have any tips or something waiting for?
I've mentioned mine already, which is kind of the second series of Rivals. And, you know, I feel like this year I've watched a lot of really fun kind of high octane thrillers, The Night Manager or Series 2 or Steel on, Prime Video, which I kind of enjoyed. There's a lot of hokum, but, great fun. And I'm just kind of looking forward to, something light, fun, glossy, great locations, great cast, and comforting. Really, I think so much going on in the background, isn't it? With this whole Iran war stuff, and just to get away from all that, I think, and all the anxiety really in the background, I think that'll be a good watch.
If I may, I think the best show on television currently is Shrinking on Apple TV. It's not light, but it makes you laugh. At every episode I'm laughing and crying, which I think sometimes at the same time, which I think is always the sign of a good show.
And that stars our old friend Ted McGinley. Is that possible?
Ted Gilliam, he's amazing. He's one of the best characters, and it's the same team, Bill Lawrence, who did Ted Lasso and so many great shows, and Brett Goldstein, and phenomenal.
Okay, I'm in. So I think we've had a lot of shows that people are now going to want to watch, which is great, but also some signs of health, especially in the European TV industry here at Series Mania. So I'm feeling encouraged.
That's the thing. I think even coming into this, it was also, between geopolitics and there's an Iranian actress on the jury that isn't here for the reasons. And I think that when everyone comes together, it's like, okay, things aren't great, but they're not living they're living in reality. This is how it is. But I think it's finding solutions, and it's whether, and Tim, you mentioned having the people who are the commissioners and the decision makers on a government level, and also the decision makers at the big studios, at the big companies, and then talent and auteurs. And I think it's a little hopeful. It'll be different, but I think the theme also is like after peak TV, like less can be more too.
Yeah. I think, the big TV thing, burst, everyone says, in 2022. And, throughout our careers of writing about all these things, it's always been tough, hasn't it? Even during peak TV, it was tough for some. I've forgotten why it was tough, but everyone said it was tough. But
it's
still,
never easy.
Great stuff is still gets made year after year. And, I think the consolidation thing is going to throw up some challenges, actually. I think there'll be... all these companies coming together means that there might not be so many people working at some of them, in the years to come. But to go back to try and put the positive spin on things, I think, the lineup at Series Mania looks strong. The fact that so many people there is really encouraging, and, there's some great stuff to look out for.
Great. And strong beer. What more could you want? Well, Rebecca, you're the first person to share a headphone with me. I don't even know if my husband has been allowed to do this. So I hope we'll reunite at the Cannes Film Festival.
Oui, madame, bien sûr.
And Tim will, of course, be there with us. So.
Well, we'll be talking about all the same topics, I think.
Yes, consolidation, politics, different round.
Hopefully maybe a rom-com would be great.
Yes. Thierry, give us a rom-com.
Yeah.
So do stay tuned to Screen Daily, everybody, for all the news after Series Mania. And thanks to all of you for listening to the Screen Podcast. We're delighted you're tuning in. Please do rate us and subscribe. Thanks to the whole team who makes this possible, not just Rebecca and Tim, but also our podcast producer, Ellie Kalman, our web editor, Orlando Parfit, and the whole Screen team behind the scenes. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again next week.
Au revoir.